on his lap, cigarettes curling, smoking his political trap. Michael Vass roars through the screen, he flies, painting red and blue skies with his fiery cry. He's the world's watchdog, calling out the bluff. Right-wing swagger, but his heart's pretty tough. He's a Republican dragon with his truthful slight, fights the battles unseen in the shadows of the night. From policy to passion, he breaks it all down, giving a voice to the voiceless, wearing his crown. Caffeine-fueled mornings, the smoke curls dance, Fluffy at his feet, giving life one more chance. Through algorithms and bias, he cuts straight and clear. Michael's roar echoes in the hemisphere. Michael Vass roars through the screen, he flies, painting red and blue skies with his fiery cry. He's the world's watchdog, calling out the bluff. Right-wing swagger, but his heart's pretty tough. No soundbites allowed is his ultimate creed. A dragon's perspective where facts are the seed. Standing tall on his battlefield of thoughts, guarding the truth that others forgot. Michael Vass roars through the screen, he flies, painting red and blue skies with his fiery cry. He's the world's watchdog, calling out the bluff. Right-wing swagger, but his heart's pretty tough.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me. This is No Soundbites Allowed. I am your host, Michael Voss. We are in our offices in the Bronx, New York. Today is November 26th. It's currently 7:32 in the evening, and it's the evening before Thanksgiving. I wish I had much better news to share with you all and to talk about tonight. In fact, I wasn't even going to do a show tonight. I was going to take the night off, get ready for Thanksgiving tomorrow. I have my family coming on by. I know many other Americans are meeting up with their family or their close friends. And for those overseas, they're looking at Americans going, I don't know what you guys are doing, but it's a holiday. So I was going to take the day off, and then we had news today. News that, the first thing being talking about the case in Georgia, Fani Willis's case against Donald Trump about election interference, and that blew up. And then we had more news come out this afternoon. We had some news come out in reference to the Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, and I wanted to talk about that, but I figured, I could wait until Sunday about that. And then the breaking news came out about 2 p.m. Now, before I get into all of that, if you're new to the channel, I want to welcome you. And I thank you sincerely that I'm glad that you are here with me today. Maybe you're listening while you're cooking or you're traveling to see family and friends. I hope you have a safe trip. I hope that you will be well, you will be warm, and you will be surrounded by love. I truly wish that for everyone who watches the channel, my entire audience, and all of America. I truly do. What we do here is long-form political commentary, and it's because of the First Amendment. It's our right by birth to be able to speak about the issues that are happening in our nation, that the issues that affect each and every one of us and everyone around the globe, and to make changes whenever possible. That's why we're doing this, the First Amendment. And whether any government, any internet overlords, whether they like it or not, we continue to do that. We've been doing this for 20 years. We've been doing these shows on YouTube for 15 years. I am not about to stop. Now, I have to apologize because I am emotional today. I am upset. I have been livid since I found out about what happened in Washington, D.C. I am livid at Mark Kelly. I am livid at Lisa Slotkin. I am aggravated, intensely aggravated at those 6 Democrats and also Chris Murphy, who came out with their seditious statements. And this is a consequence of that. In part, also, you can say Mandami is a little bit of responsible for what happened today, but I definitely put it on the shoulders of those 6 Democrats. I don't know how they'll be able to sleep tonight, knowing that the consequence of what they did, I believe, led to the death of 2 National Guardsmen today. It was unnecessary. And they did it for the worst reason of all reasons, to get donations, to be able to get reelected a little bit easier, to manipulate voters and to fearmonger just a little bit more, to make sure that their DNC, their Democratic Party, which is broke, that had to borrow $15 million so that they could get just a few more donations so that they could maintain their power. The cause of this is selfishness on the part of the Democrats. And if there is any Democrat, any elected official that would like to dispute what I'm going to be talking about today, you know what? Tell me. I will put you on live and I will be happy to have this conversation with you. I dare you. Any elected Democrat anywhere. That's Mark Kelly, that's Lisa Slotkin, any of them. Let's go through the evidence. Let's have the conversation. And they won't. They will let their surrogates like ABC News, they're circling the wagons right now as we speak. And they are trying to turn what has happened in D.C. into a story about, well, maybe it's gang violence, maybe it's just gun violence, it's about gun control. They are trying to twist this story as fast and as hard as they can from what is absolutely obviously the cause of the death of National Guard soldiers on American soil that should never have happened. Never. And they're also, of course, trying to find a way to spin it into, well, it's Orange Man bad. It's Donald Trump's fault, of course, somehow. Somehow. This is so aggravating. So I'm a little bit disjointed today. I'm a little bit off my mark. It's because I'm emotional, but I think it's valid. And I'm open to hearing. And no matter how emotional I may be, no matter where my feelings may be, and I always like to be upfront with you guys to let you know exactly where I stand. I'm a Republican. I'm a conservative. I've been in the military. I have certain very solid views. And I tell you that up front so you can say, well, I disagree, Mike, and that's fine. You can come on, you can leave a comment and say, Mike, I disagree with you. You misunderstand this situation, and tell me why. Don't tell me I'm evil. Don't tell me I don't understand what's going on. I do. But tell me why you think I'm wrong. I can hear you, and I'm willing to hear the arguments, but I don't think I am wrong. And I don't think that my anger is misplaced at this moment. And I do believe that Mark Kelly and Slotkin and the other members should all of them are officers, as I understand. Every one of those officers should be recalled to active duty, and they should all receive a court-martial. Every single one. I'm taking a breath. Hey, I see user has been banned has joined us. Thank you for joining me. And user has been banned says, the news never stops. That's true. Troops going on to deployment to Southern Command. They're part of the ongoing color revolution being waged against the United States. Okay. Michelle is here. Michelle says, definitely valid. The violence needs to stop, and so does the Democrats' rhetoric. The rhetoric is feeding into the violence. They keep saying this is a Republican thing and Republican violence. This is Democrat violence. We're seeing an example of it right in front of us. That's the breaking news today. That's the big news story today. It is the rhetoric of the Democrats that leads directly to violence. And we have been seeing that in Chicago, in Portland. We have been seeing it in California, all across this country, New York, consistently. It is the rhetoric for the last 10 years that is coming to lay bare, and most recently and most directly what we saw last week is the cause, the root of the violence that we are seeing today. It is not gun violence. That's not the reason why. It's not because of gangs. It's not because of crime in DC. Look, I'm going to make a couple of predictions with you guys. Matter of fact, I'll make them right now. These are complete speculation. There is no news on this yet. I'll talk about it in a moment, but this is complete speculation in my mind. I believe that the shooter is someone who is not a native to Washington, D.C. They are absolutely a leftist of some degree. I mean, we're talking someone who's probably an Antifa adjacent kind of individual. That this individual had I'm not sure if they had a legal firearm or not. We don't know. Probably a handgun. That this individual was motivated by listening to other Democrats demonize Donald Trump, and they were afraid, for several reasons that we'll get into in the show, that Donald Trump was going to become a dictator, as Democrats have continuously said, that there would be no more elections like we heard from Gavin Newsom, and that he wanted to make a statement because those soldiers, they stopped being American. They stopped supporting America. He's mad at them. He doesn't like the soldiers anymore. That's what this is. This is a leftist that listened to the hype, drank the Kool-Aid, and decided they thought they would be a hero for taking out National Guard troops because they think they're evil, because they think Donald Trump is evil. That's what I think is the story. And I don't think this person acted alone. I think they have a crew of people that they interact with, either directly or indirectly, that support what they did today. And there are going to be people on Blue Sky that are cheering this on. Meanwhile, the mainstream news media, and I do mean ABC News, because they have already done so, are coming out and they're trying to cheerlead this on. They're trying to turn the story and trying to protect the Democrats from something the Democrats themselves did. And I am very angry about this. I'm very angry about this. And I try not to be overly emotional when I talk to you guys. But this gets me. These are our military on home soil. This should never have happened. User has been banned says the 6 Democrats are part of the revolution of the left. I don't know that there's going to be a revolution on the left. I think they're trying to get some kind of uprising, and they think they're going to be the top dogs on this. But as we have seen in every kind of civil war, every uprising, especially when socialism and far left politics are involved, the people at the top wind up they're the first ones on the firing squads being shot down. Look at Che Guevara. Look at what happened in Cuba. Look at what happened in Russia. Look what happened in China. It's the very converts, the people who fought the war to bring in the radical leftist ideologies, including socialism and communism. They're the first ones that get put into the gulag. They're the first ones that are lined up against the firing squads, and they're the first ones to go. If they think they're just going to be on top in the top dog at the end of this, they're absolutely wrong. They're going to be one of the first ones that very same left movement is going to get rid of. Michelle says, judging by the skimpy attire the suspect was wearing in the pie they just released, in the pictures he just released, he's definitely a leftist. There could be reason for that. I've seen that video, and I've seen the picture of an individual, a suspect, who was being put into an ambulance and driven away. I have not confirmed that photo at this moment. I can't confirm that that's the individual. And there may be a reason, like there were several wounds. He may have had blood on him. We know that the suspect was shot. The paramedics may have been searching for the exact location of the bullet wound. And so they had to they'll cut off your pants, they'll cut off your shirt if you've been shot, usually trying to get around to find it. If they're searching for, since he may have been and likely was covered in blood, his own and that of the innocent soldiers, they may have had to cut all his clothes off to try and find where the actual bullet wound was. Could be the case. So I'm not going to speculate on that aspect, although it wouldn't surprise me if the lunatic came out there scantily clothed because it's part of some kind of leftist ideology or some kind of anti or climate change or something stupid like that. It would not surprise me. It is in the realm of possibility for the left. They are that crazy very, very often. Okay. Let's take this back a moment to let everyone know where we are. And I know there's going to be some people who disagree and some people who don't like this. I know my good friend Larry Sharp doesn't believe that the Democrats are responsible for this. In fact, he thinks that Donald Trump, that this was all about the politics and Donald Trump fell into a trap and that the Democrats are those 6 Democrats, that they're winning on this. I disagree with him vehemently. I think he's absolutely out of his mind. Yes, he's my friend. He's wrong and he's out of his mind. But let me explain what I think happened today, the chronology that got us to where we are at this moment. Last week, as we have seen, and I was talking about during the Sunday live stream, we know that there was a video that came out featuring 6 Democrats, each of them spouting off about some mythical, non-existing illegal order. And we know this is the case because Chris Murphy and Jason Crow, Slotkin and Mark Kelly, they've all been asked, name one illegal order given by President Trump as the 45th president of the United States and the 47th. There is none. They will mention hearsay conversations that Donald Trump had with various questionable individuals, but those weren't orders. That was a conversation. And the president can have a conversation. He can ask questions without that being in order. And in fact, as we all know for a fact, we've all been, if you've been alive and you're watching this program, you were alive over the last 4 or 5 years. You know for a fact Donald Trump never issued any illegal orders, although Democrats said he was talking about illegal orders. You can talk about anything you want. That doesn't make it an order, and that's not a crime. But they want you to feel like something went wrong, like something was, that Trump did something evil. They're really trying to push your emotional buttons because they have no substance to actually stand upon. So these Democrats, and I mostly mentioned Mark Kelly and Slotkin because they were officers and they're senators, so they have the higher offices. So I'm speaking about them, but I mean all 6. So they came out with this, and then they went through the route, and they went on to programs like CNN, and they got treated with kid gloves, and no one questioned anything. They went on to Newsmax and Fox and all the other news channels, and they were asked a very simple question. Can you name an illegal order from President Trump? No, they'll tell you about Nuremberg. They'll talk to you about Vietnam. They'll talk about Korea. They'll go back into the past of what an illegal order is, but they have nothing to name current day from this president, either as the 45th or 47th. They have no evidence, no substance. So what they did is seditious, according to the UCMJ, according to 10 USC 894. That is our, you can look it up. That is the legal section. That is our law of the United States, and it will show you the exact explanation of sedition, of what they have done, the exact definition, and what is the exact penalty. And by the way, President Trump was correct. The exact penalty of sedition under Article 94 of the Unified Code of Military Justice, the UCMJ, is death, with a caveat that the board can choose something else if they wish. But the punishment of sedition is death. This is also the punishment for mutiny, which also could be considered what they have done. Mutiny and sedition are considered the same thing under the Unified Code of Military Justice, and that means that the punishment is death, or a military tribunal can choose some other punishment instead. I said on Sunday, these Democrats should be held accountable. The officers should be recalled because officers can be recalled. Enlisted cannot. Officers can be recalled. That is actually legal. That is part of the military, the contract, the oath that they swear. They can be recalled to service even if they have retired. They can be brought back to active duty at any time, and they should be court-martialed. Absolutely, they should be court-martialed, especially in light of what has happened today. And this should be part of their court-martial. And for those who do not know, in the military, you are not an American citizen. You don't have the rights of an American citizen. You have the UCMJ. And one of the tenets of being in military service in the UCMJ is that you are guilty until proven innocent beyond a shadow of doubt. It is the exact opposite of the legal system in America. So when you are court-martialed, that's why it's such a big deal in the military. Being court-martialed, there is almost no way to be proven innocent. And again, it's innocent beyond a shadow of doubt. So you walk into that court-martial, you are guilty, and you must convince everyone that you are 1,000% innocent of all charges. Otherwise, even if you are 1% guilty, that is the same thing as being 100% guilty, and therefore you get the full punishment. Just something that people don't know, who haven't served in the military, who aren't familiar with the UCMJ. That's what it stipulates. That's why it's such a big deal. That's why so many people are afraid of it getting a court-martial. It's a big deal. Now, their statements, they've now come out and they said, oh, but Donald Trump, quoting 10 USC 894, Article 94 of the UCMJ on sedition and mutiny, Donald Trump saying the punishment is death. That is the punishment. And because he mentioned it, they're saying, oh my God, Donald Trump is threatening my life. He's going to try and kill me. Donald Trump's evil. No, he's not. He did nothing more than what they did. In fact, what Donald Trump did is more innocent than what those Democrats did. The Democrats were trying to break the chain of command in American military. They were trying to undermine a sitting president. And if you think it's okay, just imagine that what they did was done to Obama instead of Donald Trump. Just change the president. Would you be okay with Republicans coming up and just saying the exact same thing that these Democrats said and saying that to Obama? And I can tell you I am absolutely sure, if any Democrat is being honest, if they heard 6 Republicans say the same thing under the Obama administration, they would be livid. And they'd be saying the same thing that I am saying. It is sedition. And that these individuals should be recalled, every officer, and they should be court-martialed. They should be held to the highest punishment possible. Okay. And that it's not, and to hold them accountable for what they have done isn't some kind of crime. It's not some kind of persecution. They are accountable for their actions. The First Amendment aspect, they always like to say, well, it's First Amendment. Yes, you have the right to say anything. And I'm virtually an absolutist when it comes to the First Amendment. You have a right to say virtually anything. You're still accountable for what you say. Just because you have the right to say it doesn't mean that you are absolved of any consequences of what you said. Just because you say, oh, I can say anything I want. Yes, you can. And people can react to that in any way they want. So if they want to fire you because they don't agree with what you said, they can do that. That is their right, reacting to your right. So they can't just say, well, it's a First Amendment thing. He's trying to silence my First Amendment. No, he's just reacting to your criminal activity and he is responding in kind. He is holding you accountable. This is a direct consequence of your actions. Let me go on. So that got us through the weekend. And the Democrats are backtracking, trying to say, no, it's not that serious. It wasn't meant to be that serious. We would never destroy the military, even though that's exactly what they did. And we have seen videos of airmen. In fact, there was a low-ranking, I think it was a private in the Air Force, put out a TikTok video talking about how he doesn't know if he can serve because, America is all stolen land and he doesn't know if he can live. That kid, by the way, I have him on X. I think I have that. I'll show you if I do have it. He needs to be court-martialed immediately. He needs to be removed from the military with a dishonorable discharge. He is an evil, evil kid. That kid is so misguided, and he has been screwed up by these members. Here it is. Yeah, I do have it. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. Oops, wait a minute. 1 second. 1 second. Let me bring this up now. Now, all the links that I'm going to show you, they will be added at the end of the show so you can see it for yourself. But this is under Thomas Sowell quotes. A U.S. Air Force member says that he isn't proud to serve a country that deports illegal immigrants. He leaves out illegal immigrants. Migrants who are legally coming to America are not being deported. It is illegal aliens. They have been deported from what he calls stolen land. In other words, America. We're deporting illegal aliens from American soil. And this kid who volunteered to be in the United States military, he wasn't drafted. No one forced him. He volunteered knowing, even if he has these opinions, he knew that, and he volunteered to take orders from Donald Trump and anyone else that was in office, whoever is the commander-in-chief in a nation that he thinks is on stolen land with illegal aliens that, by definition of our laws, make them criminals. And he has a reservation. He's saying, oh, I don't know if I can do that. That kid needs to be court-martialed and drummed out of the Air Force with a dishonorable discharge. And by the way, if you didn't know, according to the UCMJ, that confession, that statement, that's a criminal act, according to UCMJ, for someone who's in the military. Civilians, very different rule. He's in the military. That's a crime, what he did. That is a crime. That's insubordination. That is punishable. So he should have a court-martial. He should be removed from the military. Again, the news media doesn't want to focus on that. They're trying to say, well, that's not connected. That has nothing to do with what Democrats have been saying for 10 years and what they said last week. It's not connected at all. How can you say that those things are in any way similar? Why are you lying to my face? Of course they're connected. Of course there's a direct consequence. Well, they didn't tell him to do that. No, but they encouraged the hell out of him to feel that and to express it. They are responsible. Okay. Fair. Look, I'm not going to pick on the Air Force because I'm not surprised the kid's in the Air Force. Notice none of the Democrats that made this stupid statement, none of them are Marines. Notice the kid who's saying that, he's in the Air Force. There are no Marines saying this. Just something to point out. There's a reason why the Marine Corps isn't involved in this kind of idiocy. But that's another thing altogether. Okay, let's move forward. So, what we know for sure. So that's what happened last week. And today, we saw that, and I think this was the inciting moment. I think this is what caused the lunatic in D.C. to take action, to actually jump forward. The news came out about 10 o'clock. I believe it was 10 or 11 o'clock today. Let me double check. I believe it was around 10:50 a.m. Just before 11 o'clock this morning, news came out, as you can see here, about the charges against President Trump in relation to the Georgia election interference case. Donald Trump was charged, along with many other people, saying that he interfered. This is kind of like the Russia thing, except in 2020. It has no real basis. It's not, no one took this case seriously. Democrats wanted it to be true. They felt like it was true, that they felt that Orange Man Bad must have done something. That's why he won. And so they were praying that this case could be the proof so that they can feel justified in their Trump derangement syndrome. But the case wasn't going anywhere. And there was nothing, the only thing that was propelling this case was the hate for Donald Trump, Republicans, and MAGA that came from Fani Willis, a disgraced attorney, a prosecutor from Georgia, who was in charge of the case. She was the one pushing it forward, trying to find some way to discredit Donald Trump before the election, trying to, in some way, prevent him from being able to win the election, either because of embarrassment, because of charges, because they put him in jail. Whatever she could get, she wanted to try and get that. It's kind of like Letitia James. It didn't work. And in the process, people found out more about prosecutor Fani Willis, and we found out that she, in fact, was engaging in various criminal activities and misconduct and moral misconduct, which got her removed from the case. She got kicked out because her bias was so severe that there were even Democrats could not deny that this was completely biased, and it was fueled by her hatred for Donald Trump, Republicans, and MAGA. But the case kept moving forward. They got rid of Fani Willis. She's embarrassed. Her career has ended. And then they kept the case going forward because it was a legitimate case until today. Because today, the prosecutor put in place to replace Fani Willis and a judge both determined that there's no evidence. There's no proof. There is no substance to the charges. It was all political, as we've always known. And so Donald Trump, the case is gone. It is no longer pending against Donald Trump and most of the other individuals who were indicted, several of whom pled guilty. Why? Because they couldn't afford the court case. They couldn't afford the lawyers and going through the trial system. It was too expensive, cost too much money. They were getting bankrupted. So the answer is take the plea deal. And they did. But the actual underlying charge now has been vacated, doesn't exist. The judge threw it out. The prosecutor said, there's no evidence for this. I cannot prove this. And then the judge said, you're right, and wiped it out as if it never existed. Democrats, of course, were. And we heard across the country, especially in the blue sky bubble, we started hearing them say, well, this is part of the Trump corruption. This is because of Pam Bondi or Kash Patel or Donald Trump. They're gaming the system. They're influencing these judges. And it's all perversion because you can never know. If you're not doing what Democrats want, then you're always wrong. And they will just find a reason to justify why whatever you did that they didn't like was wrong. So it's always corruption and it's always abuse of power. It doesn't matter that they do the exact same things. It doesn't matter that they have no evidence for whatever their feelings are at that moment. It must be true because they have a feeling. And of course, the leftist media and social media especially places like Blue Sky, were feeding into that. Yeah. It's Trump is evil. Trump is bad. Orange man bad. It must be corruption. It must be abuse of power. Of course. Don't forget to donate to your local Democrat. Don't forget to donate to the DNC. They have a $15 million loan they have to pay off because they're bankrupt. Vote Democrat in 2026. That's all they care about. So if this, the conspiracy theories go out there, the Democrats don't care. As long as you give them a check and you give them the vote, they don't care. But I think when we're talking about the people who have been radicalized, and we have seen many examples of the left, the guy who killed Charlie Kirk, great example of that. The Tennessee shooter, the trans shooter, the Minnesota trans shooter. We see these individuals that have been motivated and guided over and over, and they've been indoctrinated through their high school and into their college. They've been indoctrinated through the social media that MAGA, Making America Great, is somehow that's a Nazi slogan. To make America great is a Nazi slogan, somehow, in their minds. I don't understand it. Doesn't make any sense. But, these are damaged people. And so they're angry now. And the anger is building up. And they're like, oh my God, look, he's got all these troops illegally all across America, even though he doesn't, and it's not illegal. And there's reasons and justifications for where National Guard troops and or the Marine Corps have been activated. It makes a lot of sense. Whether you like it or not, different thing. And Trump has had a legal reason for everything that he has done. And the Democrats don't like that he's enforcing the law. He's using the law that actually exists to do what he is doing, which is what he promised he would do. That 77 million people voted for him to do. Democrats are really pissed off at that. And these far left radicalized individuals, we have seen them. These are people like Kat Abu in Illinois, who's in charge of who's running as a candidate for the 9th district. People like Cameron Kasky, who is part of one of the co-founders of March for Our Lives, who's running for the New York 12th district. These nut jobs are out there, and they're goading people on so that they get more money, so that they can get more power, so that they can get elected. And the nut jobs are out there, and they're seeing this, and they're saying, I've got to do something. Oh my God, Trump he's obviously evil because they've been telling me that for 10 years. And I am sure that the shooter is somewhere in his mid-20s. Will not surprise me that we find out that this shooter in DC was something like 25, 27 years old, which means that since he was 15, maybe 17, when he was in high school, maybe junior high school, he has heard for his entire life from all of his teachers, from all of the social media, from movies and video games and the nightly news every day for 10 years, Donald Trump, Republicans, and MAGA are all evil. They're all Nazis. They're going to take over America. And according to Gavin Newsom, there will never be any other elections. And he's been hearing that for 10 years. And he's like, oh my God, got to do something. And then he hears, and he was hoping, maybe he was hoping. And this person, I imagine, probably lives in the South, might be a resident of Georgia. I'm guessing here. This is my supposition. I have no evidence of this, but I'm guessing this person either comes from one of the bluer than blue cities, like a Chicago or an LA or a San Francisco, maybe a Boulder, Colorado, or a Baltimore or Georgia. And this person is like, oh my God. So he decides, he's like, my last chance, it's Georgia. They're going to put Trump on trial, even though he's president. They're going to put him on trial, and he's going to go to jail, and Democrats will be able to win in 2026, and they'll win again in 2028, and then they'll make America socialist because Zoran Mandami won in New York, so socialism is on the rise, which is supposed to be the solution. That's what he's thinking, And then he finds out at 11 o'clock today, oh, by the way, that case is gone. Georgia is out. The one thing that this nut job might have been hoping would be the thing that would topple the regime, the Reich of Donald Trump. And that last hope is gone. And he's hearing that, and he's hearing from, and by the way, let's be very clear here. This guy is hearing from people like, where is it? There it is. Let me show you. Bear with me 1 second. I gotta just put this up here. And these nut jobs in the far left, they're hearing things like this from Elisa Slotkin, who was on ABC News. And I'm going to play the whole thing for you. But what she's saying here is that the National Guard are going to start shooting American citizens because of Donald Trump.
Basically a warning to say, like, if you're look at these videos coming out of places like Chicago, it makes me incredibly nervous that we're about to see people in law enforcement, people in uniform military get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians.
Wait a minute. Why would they shoot? The National Guard, the DEA, ICE, they don't just randomly shoot American citizens. Now, you're talking about Chicago. You mean when a bunch of far leftists decided to ram their cars into ICE vehicles, that they were using vehicular assault, which is a manslaughter charge, that they were actively attacking the federal enforcement, doing their lawful job. And she's talking about, well, that means they're going to shoot. Well, they're being attacked with a vehicle, couple of tons. So yeah, they would respond with bullets because you're trying to kill them. Or we're talking about things like with Cataboo, where she has a mob of some 50 to 75 people, as recorded by CBS News in Chicago, where we see this mob of 50 to 75 people are swarming and apparently assaulting ICE agents. And she's one of them. She's one of their leaders. Amongst there were about 3 or 4 Democratic candidates that got arrested because they were attacking ICE agents, doing their lawful job, which is to deport illegal aliens that were helping to crush and destroy the infrastructure of Chicago and putting a burden on all Americans across this nation. Besides the fact that we know that some illegal aliens actually physically harm American citizens, sometimes kill American citizens. This is a danger that doesn't need to exist in America. Does not need to exist. And it was a danger brought into America by Joe Biden because he had an open border policy. And the Democrats don't want to admit that was wrong. And they know they need these illegal aliens to fill in the gap in their bluest of blue cities and states like New York, like California, like Illinois, like Boston, so that as people are running away from those states because they're falling apart, they fill it with illegal aliens and they count those illegal aliens as if they're American citizens, which allows them to maintain their power. Because without it, California would have lost 5, maybe 10 members of Congress. New York State would have lost 3 members of Congress, of the House, in the 2020 census. So these radicals, they're hearing people like Slotkin just say, oh, no, but you see, but the National Guard, they're going to shoot you because Trump illegally put them out protecting ICE and police and communities across America. And because he did that, well, these guys are going to get nervous. They're going to be afraid. They're going to hear an illegal order and they're going to shoot you. Oh, so there's a threat. Donald Trump is making them a threat. These National Guard, they're not good guys. They're the bad guys. They're going to shoot me. That's what Slotkin just said. Let me play it again for you.
get nervous, get stressed, shoot at American civilians.
This is irresponsible. She's a senator. And she is irresponsibly saying to the American people on ABC News, without any pushback from ABC News, that the National Guard will shoot you, a civilian. They're going to shoot you. It is just a matter of time before they start shooting you. And they'll do it because Donald Trump said so. That's the message she is sending to the American people. She will say, that's not what I intended to say, and that's not what you're supposed to think about. That is the message she is sending. ABC knows it. I know it. Slotkin knows it. The Democrats know it. Why? Because now you'll be afraid that you're going to be shot, and it's because of Donald Trump, MAGA, and Republicans. So you'll give money to the Democratic Party that is completely broke and is on the last $15 million of a loan to keep them afloat. And then you're going to go out and you're going to vote for those Democrats because you're terrified. And they're saying the only answer, the only one who's going to save you are the Democrats, which is a complete lie. Democrats put you into the problem in the first place. Remember, the Democrats opened the border that caused the problem we're now trying to resolve. The very reason why Donald Trump got elected. That's the problem that the Democrats created. So when they say they're going to save you, they made the problem. They're not going to save you from jack. They don't care. If they cared, we wouldn't be in this problem in the first place. So she goes on. Let's play the rest of it because I'll be fair. Let's hear the whole thing she has to say.
It is a very, very stressful situation for these law enforcement and for the communities on the ground. So it was basically a warning to say, like, if you're asked to do something, particularly against American citizens, look at these videos coming out of.
If you're asked to do something, if that happens, but she just said they're just going to shoot people without anyone asking them anything. They're going to shoot American citizens just because they're nervous. Just because they're scared, because they are trying to defend people. That doesn't really make any sense when you stop and think about it. She's just saying anything. She knows that ABC News, CBS, CNN, MS Now or NBC, whatever the hell they call themselves now, they're not going to question her. They're not going to push back and say, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. That I don't understand how you can get from A to B with the logic that you're using. So she knows she has cover. She knows that they're going to protect her. They're going to say, of course, because Orange Man Bad is the answer to everything. So again, put yourself in the mind of the radical. They've been told by Amy Slotkin that they're going to get shot, that they're going to be killed. Matter of fact, we also heard, and I'll refer to another one. And I know people will say, well, Mike, this isn't fair. I don't trust libs of TikTok. I don't care. This is CNN. This is ABC. This is what they said. This isn't from libs of TikTok. I'm playing what CNN and ABC actually put out to the public. This is from ABC News. Now let's listen to what this guy has.
Actually, what the president is doing through the Secretary of Defense is creating units, official military units, to quite frankly watch the American people. And that's the thing that is absolutely
first of all,
abhorrent.
First of all, if the president actually used the military to watch American citizens, that's not a crime. And that's not a problem. Police watch you. Apple is, if you have an Apple phone of a Samsung, they're watching everything you do every day. Facebook actually has, in the terms of service, when you sign up for Facebook, it actually says that Facebook can turn on your cell phone, your mobile phone, your microphone, and your camera randomly at any time that they choose to see what's going on, to listen into you. We know that Alexa, that little Alexa pod you have next to your bed, it listens to you at night. So Donald Trump, he's going to put some soldiers together and they're going to look at you. And that's not a crime. That's not stopping you from being able to do anything you want to do. That's not a big deal. So that's not a problem. I don't know why he thinks that's a big deal. But, he's on CNN, so it's okay. Let's hear what else he has to say here.
It reminds me so much of what happened in Germany in the 1930s.
So Donald Trump, in his mind, he is saying that eventually Donald Trump will use the military to go watch American citizens. And when he says watch American citizens, he means Gestapo. He means the 1930s Nazi party, that they're going to be the secret police. This is what he is saying. He's trying to find another way to say, they're going to watch you. Well, watching you is not a crime and it doesn't stop you from doing anything. Oh, no. They're going to watch you like a spy would watch you. They're going to watch you like secret police watch you. They're the Gestapo. And Donald Trump is Orange Man bad. He's their leader. So obviously he's evil. And therefore, the National Guard troops are evil too, because they're obeying the orders. Again, put that. So you saw this on CNN, that this guy that CNN put on as an expert is telling you that there is a Gestapo being built in America, and it's made up of National Guard troops. And you have Elisa Slotkin, as well as a bunch of other Democrats who are former military, coming out and saying, you know what? Trump is giving out illegal orders. You should be afraid for your life. And she goes on to say, she goes on ABC and says, by the way, those National Guard troops that CNN just told you are Gestapo, they're going to shoot you. And this nut job from today, this absolute psychopath, decided to go out with this kind of motivation behind him. And he decided, I'm going to go and walk up to two National Guard troops who are just doing a patrol, not minding their own business. And he's just going to pull out a gun and shoot them. This is 3 blocks away from the White House. This is not a high crime district. This is not a gang shooting, and gangs aren't stupid. Gangs aren't going. We know that when the National Guard went in, the gangs got quiet. They stopped committing a bunch of crimes. They stopped going into the center of DC. They stopped robbing people. They stopped a bunch of the drive-by shootings. Crime rates dropped off of a cliff because no gang is going to try and take on the U.S. military. They're not that stupid. No, this guy, this psychopath, targeted these soldiers, knew they wouldn't be on guard. They'd be not paying attention. Why? This is in a high crime area. This is right next to the White House. Gangs wouldn't be stupid enough. Criminals wouldn't be stupid enough to take on the National Guard. So he says, that's my opportunity. And he shoots 2 of them, dead. This is a direct response. By the way, I left out one other thing to keep in mind. Zoran Mandami, the very same person they say, this is going to bring in socialism and it's going to change everything and everything will be perfect and beautiful because, socialism has never worked anywhere ever. And it has always come in with, we're going to fix everything. And they fix nothing, always, everywhere in the history of mankind. That has always been the result, every time it has been tried. And their hero of the moment was Zoran Mandami. And Zoran Mandami just 2 weeks ago was saying, Donald Trump is a fascist and I'm going to fight him. And Zoran last week went down to Washington, D.C., stood in the White House right next to Donald Trump. And when the news media asked him if he would call Donald Trump a fascist to his face, Zoran backed down. Donald Trump had to bail him out. And Zoran's talking about, no, we can work together and everything's going to be fine. And, we just disagree on things. He was a wimp, a soy boy. He wasn't the hero, the fighter that he promised he would be that got him to win the New York mayoral election. He's a failure. He betrayed the very same leftist socialists that he was using to get into office. Now, mind you, I believe he is a leftist. I believe he's a socialist. I am sure that he is a believer, but he has no real ability to stand up for anything. That's not his job. That's not what he does. He speaks really big and then does nothing. Like many, many, many socialists. They're not serious. They want you to do the work for them. They'll stand up in the spotlight and say, you go do that over there. Because that's how socialism works. That's why every single policy that Zoran Mandami has offered, not only have they all failed everywhere they have ever been tried across America and the rest of the country, and the rest of the world, but another big thing about that, and if you pay attention, and my good friend Larry Sharp, actually, he did an analysis of this, and I watched it with him and I reviewed it. Every single policy of Zoran Mandami makes government bigger and more powerful. Not one policy helps people. Not one policy of Zoran Mandami helps people. It just makes the government bigger. It just makes government stronger. That's all. So that's his socialism in effect. If you even want to say, well, Mike, you just don't understand. You're a Republican. You're just biased. You're MAGA. Okay, read his policies. Not one help the public. Every single policy of Zoran Mandami gives the power to government and makes it bigger and stronger. And that big bully went down to DC and then begged at the feet of Donald Trump. He had no teeth, lots of bark, no teeth. So these leftist lunatics, they have nothing to look forward to. Every one of their heroes are empty shells. They're empty socks. They're useless, empty suits. This is why this attack happened today. This is why 2 National Guardsmen are dead. This is directly a continuing fault of Democrats. This is part of the violence that they have been trying to incite for 10 years, and they have been successful at it. Over and over and over again. Their rhetoric, as I just showed you on ABC, I showed you on CNN, and there are many, many more examples. We can go back 10 years on this, that they have been filling the heads of our youth from age 15. Kids in high school and junior high school have been living with nothing but the propaganda of the left in every movie, TV show, video game, in their classroom. The social media have been pumping this lie into their heads. And now when they act on it, the Democrats go, oh my God, I don't know how this could have possibly happened. It must be we need more gun control. It's just violence. I don't know where it came from. Couldn't be my fault. Couldn't be. You know what? We just need to pass another law. And by the way, vote Democrat and give them money. They don't want you to leave out that part. Don't leave out that part. Vote Democrat and give them money. That's really important. That's everything else hinges on give them money and vote for them because they need to have more power. Like I said, this is an unusual show for me. Usually I'm more organized. I'm a little bit more structured. There's more to it. I'm emotional right now because I don't see this ending. I don't see Democrats stopping their relentless fear-mongering and avoiding the consequences, trying to dodge away and say, I'm not responsible for the obvious consequences of what they have been doing for over a decade and how it is harming America, is dividing America. It is destroying our nation. And they know it. And they don't care because all they want is their selfish desire to get more power and more money. But maybe you guys think I'm wrong. Let me go to the comments. I know there's been some comments while I've been talking, ranting, whatever you want to call it. Let me take some comments. And by the way, let me again say, if you're watching this and you think I'm wrong, you think I'm overreacting, that's fine. Tell me. Mike, I think you're overreacting. I already have my good friend, Larry Sharp, who's a Marine, and my very good friend. I've known him for 10 years. I support him for his run for governor of New York in 2026. And he already told me, Mike, you're wrong. You're just overreacting to this. Maybe I am. I can say, maybe it's possible. Let me hear what you guys have to say. Let me see what you guys have to say. So let's look at some of the comments. So where did I leave off? I think I left off right about here where user has been banned said the left is using dictatorship to democracy by Gene Sharp as their playbook. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Michelle goes on to say, saddest thing is the families of these servicemen is what they're going through. I agree. And it's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. I mean, it'd be one thing if they died fighting in a war for America, for freedom, to save people's lives. It'd be one thing if they were fighting some MS-13 gang, some foreigners in our nation who are trying to sell drugs and sell human beings, slavery. They're slavers in America and they get into a firefight with them. That would be one thing. I mean, that would be something. And you could say, okay, I at least understand why they were in that firefight. I can get that. Whether it's overseas or here in America, they're fighting to keep Americans free. Okay, I get that. Even if you don't agree with why they're in the fight, you could agree, okay, I know why they're fighting. This, some random leftist nut job, and I am absolutely sure it's going to be a leftist, and the media will try and convince you it's not. They're going to try and find any and every way they can say, hey, his third cousin twice removed is a Republican, so he must be a Republican too. He once was scrolling through TikTok and found my right-wing shorts, and therefore he must be a Republican. He was scrolling through on YouTube and he ran into I don't know, maybe David Rubin, and was watching him for all of 30 seconds. He must be a Republican. That's what they're going to tell you. That's how they're going to sell this. They're going to try and twist him into some kind of Republican somehow. They have done it with all of the shooters over the last 7 years. Matter of fact, in the last 2 decades, every single shooter, the first presumption that the news media tries to sell you with, the first assumption that all of the Democrats make are, it must be a Republican. Why? It's a gun. Gun nuts. Republicans are gun nuts and they're evil, so it must be a Republican. And then they shut as soon as they find out, nope, it's not a Republican. Oh, next story. Let's not talk about this anymore. It's not important. We'll get a gun law and guns are evil, and we'll put in another law on top of the 22,000 laws we have already in existence in America at the local, state, and federal level, and we'll just make another one, and maybe next time the criminals will just follow the law. And they'll move on to the next story because they don't want to talk about it because you're not supposed to think. You're not supposed to think about it. So yeah, it is sad. It is sad, Michelle. I agree with you. Let me see. Let me go on. User says, should apply to all federal employees at this point. Okay. I'm not sure about the context. Chair Force. Yes. The kid in the Air Force, the video I showed you, which is on X, the kid sitting in the chair saying, I'm in the Air Force and I don't know. I can't follow orders anymore because America's just evil. You volunteered. You moron. You volunteered. You swore the oath. No one forced you to do that. By the way, if you do not know, when you join the military, like I did, like Larry Sharp did, when you join the military, you sign a contract. That means nothing. The contract is useless. It just tells you how long you're going to be in the military. That's the only thing the contract's for. What is your job? What might be your MOS? What might you do for the military? And how long you will be in the military? That's what the contract's for. And the thing that's actually important is the oath. Right up until you swear that oath, you can turn around and walk away from the recruiting station and no one will touch you. They'll just rip up the contract. It's worthless and useless. No one will force you. They will tell you, you walk into that room, you're going to swear an oath. This is the last time that you get a choice. You get to change your mind. When you walk into that room, you are going to swear an oath to uphold the Constitution, the United States, the chain of command. And the moment you you swear that oath, you are bound by that oath. You are part of the military. You are property of the United States government. Your constitutional rights are suspended. They're put on hold until you are done with your time in the military. And every recruiter will tell you that. That's true at every single recruiting station. And the recruiters will not walk into that room. You must walk into that room yourself on your own power. You can turn around, you can walk away, you can leave. You have to walk in. You have to swear that oath. That is your choice. And that Air Force kid did all of that. And now he wants to say, but the land is stolen. Screw you. That kid needs to be just kicked out. He needs to get he needs to get kicked out. I'm so frustrated right now. Let's see. User has been banned, says, deport him. I can't say deport him. I get the feeling. But I wouldn't say deport him. He's an American citizen, presumably. May not be an American citizen, but I presume he's an American citizen. We can't deport him. But he doesn't have to be in the military. Kick him out. Let me see some other comments here. The left think that nationalism is bad, likely from having room temperature IQ. I can't disagree with that. There's nothing wrong with nationalism. There is something wrong with irrational support of a country. But, why wouldn't I want my country to be great? Why wouldn't I want my home to be as good as it can be? And to have my neighbors, my friends, my family, my fellow countrymen to live as well as possible. I never understood that. The left never explains that. They never explain why we wouldn't want America to be great. It's like, but it has to be socialist. Why? Why is greatness only associated to socialism, which has failed in every country it has ever been done in? Every time. Oh, because this time you figured out the new way to do the formula, just like the last guy and the one before them. They always have a new formula. It's always the same thing, and it always gets the same result. But, I'm repeating myself there. All right, let me move on. Gracie, she says, and thank you for being here, Gracie. Again, thank you to everyone who's been watching. Gracie says, are we the only country in the world the Dems think should not be allowed to have borders? Borders define us as a literal country. You are correct, Gracie. That is true. And by the way, out of I believe it is 174 nations in the world at this moment. Constantly changing. There's always a country coming up and down, but there's approximately 174 nations in the world at this moment. Of those 174, I believe the last count was 120 of them have walls. What? What, Mike? 120 countries out of 174 countries. Not only do they have borders, they have walls. Oh my goodness. No one tells you that. It's a fact. By the way, Mexico has walls. That's a fact. It's true. But we can't have them in America. But the rest of the world have walls. Nancy Pelosi has a wall to her private residence. Chuck Schumer has a wall to his private residence. AOC has a wall to her apartment complex. Same thing for all the others. They have walls. They have security. You don't. The nation's borders don't get to have that. You don't get to have that, but they have it and other nations have it. Doesn't make any sense. But you're not supposed to think about that. Don't think about that. Just remember, send your check to Democrats and vote Democrat. Don't think at any point in the process. Just go in there and blindly just go, I'm voting blue no matter who. Here's my check, and we'll see what happens. Maybe this time it will be different than the last 5 decades. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. User says 175 nations. Freedom for Tibet. Okay, I said it was approximately 174. It's 175. I was close. I'm pretty close. Let's see. Alabama Barbie. Hey, Alabama, how you doing? Are you cooking for people for Thanksgiving? I know you do a lot of charity work, and I know you cook for homeless people. If you're cooking for them for Thanksgiving, thank you for doing that. Even if you're not, thank you for helping people, the homeless, those in need, families and veterans. Thank you, Alabama Barbie, for all that you do to help your community. I do remember things about everybody who's in my audience that's a regular. I remember you guys. I do pay attention to the details. I don't always mention it, but I do remember. In Alabama, I want to thank you for what you do for your community. It's appreciated. Alabama says, this is so sad. DC still has cashless bail. Yeah, that's crazy. This is part of the problem. Do you think it is someone who just wants a cot and a warm meal? No. I think this is a leftist lunatic. And I think the media is going to try and spin this any way they can that makes it about Donald Trump. They're going to blame it on National Guard being in DC. They're going to say that just because the National Guard exists, that is inciting violence, which makes no sense whatsoever. Makes no sense whatsoever. That's like saying that because police exist, well, that's why we have to have criminals. Criminals only exist because of the police. That's the logic that they're going to try and sell to you. Because there's National Guard, well, obviously someone's going to try and kill them. They're going to be shooting at them because it's looking at a National Guardsman. You just want to shoot them. That makes no sense. That's illogical. Only if you're a psychopath would you think something like that. But that's what they're going to try and do because it has to be Orange Man Bad's fault. Has to be Orange Man Bad's fault. And you have to vote Democrat because aren't you afraid? Give them a check. They need it. They're $15 million in debt. And you need to give them a check right now. They don't have a leader. They don't have any focus on their plan. They just know Orange Man Bad, and you got to give them a check. Aren't you afraid? Okay, let me keep going. Let me keep going. By the way, I do see that Mary, who was over on Facebook, was watching us as well, and she feels very much the way I feel. Thank you for that. I thank you for the support, Mary. So Mary's saying that we got an update that this is an alien. This is not an American. Okay. Let me check on this with you guys. Washington updates. Okay, so let's take a look at this, folks. Let's take a look. Thank you for letting me know about this, Mary. I'm bringing it up right now. So this is coming from KOMO News. That's the station, KOMO News. And they are saying DC National Guard shooter confirmed to have a connection to Washington State. Okay. Federal sources tell KOMO News that the suspect who allegedly shot two National Guard soldiers, allegedly, it's on video. Anyway, on Wednesday, had a connection to Bellingham, Washington State. They have not confirmed his identity or details of the shooter. Suspect is believed to be from Afghanistan and is believed to have come to the United States in 2021. Oh, that's fantastic. Here it is, folks. So, according to this news report, it's not me who said this. This guy, when Joe Biden screwed up in Afghanistan, when he handed over Afghanistan to the Taliban and ran away, again, the consequences of the actions of Democrats always hurt America, and they always blame it on anyone else. They want you to forget this. So Joe Biden, he screws up in Afghanistan. He runs away from the Taliban, giving them money, millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars in cash. He gives them weapons. He gives them ammunition. He gives them a functioning military base. And Joe Biden runs away. And then he takes 60,000 Afghan citizens. Some of them, about 20,000 of them, have worked with the United States. They're fully vetted. We know exactly who they are. They are allies who have been working side by side with our military in Afghanistan for 20 years. So we bring those 20,000 with us because we know the Taliban will kill them and their families. I got no problem with that. And we bring another 48,000 Afghan citizens that we know nothing about, that we have never vetted. We have no idea who these people are, and they could be terrorists because the terrorists said that they were going to embed ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and the Taliban said that they were going to have mixed into the refugees a bunch of their fighters to go over to America. That's what they said at the time. We covered it. You can see the articles and the videos that we did and all of the articles that were sourced on this. So that's what they told us. And Joe Biden said, don't worry, get on the plane with everyone else. We'll figure it out. We brought 68,000, so 48,000 people we didn't know anything about. We don't know their names, their backgrounds. We know nothing. We brought them into America, and then we started moving them around the country. We were just, here, you're going to go over into Texas, and this one will go into Washington State, and then we'll send someone else over to Louisiana. No rhyme or reason. We just pushed them around around the country, so they're nicely, thinly spread out. We had a lot, by the way, in 2022, we suddenly had an outbreak of women next to where these refugee camps were in various states, including in Washington and Oregon State. We had an outbreak of young teenage women being assaulted by these refugees. By the way, news media suppressed that. It's not big news. Again, well reported. If you were local news or you were looking for it, no one else really noticed that. And now we have this guy, according to the news reporting, he's from Washington, an Afghan, I am absolutely sure was not vetted. My God, if that's true. That means it is a direct consequence of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, the Democrat open border policy, the failure of their international policy with Afghanistan, the running away from the Taliban. It is a direct consequence. That's two people who died in America that did not need to die because of Joe Biden, because of Democrats. But they're going to blame it on the gun. They're going to blame it on Republicans. They're going to blame it on Donald Trump. But this is because, if this is correct, that means it's because of Joe Biden. This guy came into America because of Joe Biden. It's irrefutable. If this is correct, this is proof that this guy this is the original sin was Joe Biden bringing that guy unvetted into America. The additional sin is Slotkin, Alyssa Slotkin, and Mark Kelly ginning up the base, fear-mongering them. Alyssa Slotkin telling the American people, all these Democrats, these blue sky nuts, telling them in their bubble that they're going to get shot by the National Guard, and ABC and CBS News, CNN, that are telling people that, oh yeah, and by the way, the National Guard equal secret police, the Gestapo, and Donald Trump is evil. It's, oh my God. This is so frustrating. It is so frustrating. Thank you, Mary, for telling me about that. I know you sent me the link to Fox News, but as I always say, I try to use every left-leaning or neutral news site that I can to bring you this information, because it's not about being Republican. The things I'm talking about, yes, I am a Republican. I have a right-leaning MAGA point of view. That doesn't mean I'm wrong. And just so that the blue sky bubble types cannot just say, see, it's all Fox News. You're just parroting what Fox News says. I'm showing you the stuff from every news site that isn't right-leaning wherever possible, so that they can't just say, oh, I'll just dismiss it. It's Fox News. It's just no. That's why I don't use Fox News. That's why I think I may use one article from Fox News out of, God knows, out of 2 or 3 months of doing this. Once every 20 shows. Let me see. So, user has been banned says, the shooter has been identified as a 29-year-old Afghan national. Multiple law enforcement sources told CBS News. Said he entered in 2021 and has been taken into custody. Wow. Yeah. Put a Biden, I did that sticker on that one. See, for those who are just coming in, didn't I say it would be something like this? When I first started and I said, I'm just going to speculate, I'm not surprised. I can't say that I'm surprised. I am so drained and so upset about this. I really am. And I'm concerned. And I am very, very concerned. Now, let me clarify something very, very clearly. I'm not saying that all 68,000 of the Afghans that we rescued from the Taliban, that we brought here into America when Joe Biden ran away with his tail between his legs, I'm not saying all the Afghans are bad people. I'm not. And I agree. Definitely on the first 20,000 or so that were vetted people who worked with the United States, some of them for as long as 2 decades of America being in Afghanistan. I have no problem. There's at least 20,000 of those Afghans that I believe absolutely deserve to be in America because they worked with us and their lives and their families were in danger. I have no problem with that. And I am equally as sure that out of the other some 48,000 Afghans, that the overwhelming majority of them, overwhelmingly, we're talking 90, 95% of them, are all good people. Matter of fact, let's say that it's just 1% of all of the Afghans that we took out of Afghanistan. 99% of them are all absolutely good people. If there was just 1% of them, that would be over 680. If I'm doing my math right, that would be 600, 10% would be 6,000. So it'd be 680 additional potential terrorists and criminals, violent criminals in America. Why would we want to add even one? Why would we want to add even one potential terrorist in America? We could have vetted them. We could have vetted each and every single one of those Afghans. We could have taken our time. Remember, when we left Afghanistan because Joe Biden was in such a rush to run away so that he couldn't be blamed for the complete failure that he created, the biggest embarrassment since Saigon in American history, and I think, in fact, bigger than Saigon. He rushed through everything, including the vetting of these individuals. We could have taken our time. We could have vetted them even here in the United States, which we didn't do. Vetting, by the way, takes 18 months, 18 to 24 months to properly vet someone before they allow them into America, which is what every refugee is supposed to go through. 18 months, 18 to 24 months of vetting before they can be considered a refugee that would be allowed into the United States. That's what the process is supposed to be. Joe Biden didn't do that, which means he put American citizens at risk. And the news media covered up the many, many, many crimes that came because of that. And now it looks like that consequence, that history, those dominoes keep falling and harming American citizen lives. And the left's going to say, Mike, you're just a bad guy. You're just a Republican. You're just evil, MAGA, Nazi. Yes, they'll call me, the Black Hispanic, a Nazi. They will. They do it all the time. You're an Uncle Tom Nazi. Whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. You just don't get it. And that always comes up. You just don't understand. Yeah, I'm 58 years old, college educated, spoke 4 languages in my life, lived around the world. I just don't get it. I think I do. I think I do. This is very upsetting. And I can't say I'm surprised. And I can't say I'm surprised. I don't know, folks. I don't know. And this is before Thanksgiving. My God. It's before Thanksgiving. Look, I am thankful for being an American citizen. I love my country. With all of the flaws, and America is not perfect. I know that, you know that. That's fine. It's still, with every flaw, we are the best country in the world. We are the most free. We are the backbone of every major and even minor peace deal that's going on in the world. We're the reason why wars end. We are the breadbasket of the world. We give the people, screw the government, the American people give voluntarily more money and food and clothing than most nations do. Not even counting the government wasteful donations directly into dictator bank accounts. I'm talking about mom and pop and your neighbor. They donate soup and food and jeans to people around the world more than the GDP of most nations in the world. That's how generous the American people are. I love my country. I get to have this conversation to talk to you directly, freely, honestly, without holding anything back. And I don't have to worry about a Gestapo. I don't have to worry about some secret police showing up at my door or finding me and crossing the street and put a bullet in my head. That doesn't happen in America. That's a great reason to be happy. I have freedom. I'm a Black Hispanic man in America. That makes me one of the richest Black Hispanic men in the world. Let's say that again. Being Black in America, being Black and Hispanic in America, makes me one of the richest people in the world in terms of blacks and Hispanics. One of the richest, matter of fact, in fact, even if you're including whites and Asians, I'm one of the richest American citizens. I'm poor. I am poor. And even as someone who is poor in America, if you make $12,000 a year, you are richer than 68% of the world. That's a fact. If you're black in America, you're an American black, you are richer than, I believe the number is 74% of all black people in the world. You have more opportunity in America as a minority than most nationals in their home countries. That is a fact. You have more free, more upward mobility. You have more opportunity being black or minority or Hispanic or woman. In America, you have more opportunity, more rights, more freedom than being whatever that minority status is, whatever it is, in any other country in the world. It doesn't get better than here. And you will hear the kids over at Harvard, at Columbia, at Binghamton University, and they're going to bitch and they're going to moan and they're going to say, I want more. I'm entitled to more. Oh, everything is bad because it isn't what I want. Screw you. Go live somewhere else for a while. I don't mean take a vacation. I'm not talking about a week or a month. I'm not talking about some special government guided trip. I mean, go live with the people for at least 3 months. Every day like a citizen in that nation. Live a year and a half like I did in Russia under the communists. You go over to China. You go over to Cuba as a regular living person, a citizen. No special government treatment, no riches of American money, and just live like one of those people. And then tell me how much you love socialism. Then tell me how evil America is when you get to see how everyone else lives. I guarantee you, those kids aren't coming back going, oh my God, America's so evil. No, we're not. No, we're not. Not even close. I am grateful for being born in this nation, having served this nation, and continuing to try and help serve this nation to get the best candidates elected that I possibly can, to make you aware of all of the consequences of the bad policies that we see being done. That includes the left and the right. And anyone who's been watching me for a while knows I'll pick on a Republican as fast as I will as a Democrat when they're wrong. I don't know. I'm exhausted. I am. I am very exhausted by this. And I understand there are some people who say that they will say, no, Mike, you misunderstand. And they genuinely believe that because they don't want to see the consequences. They don't want to see that I'm right. They don't want to see how badly our nation is being screwed over by many Democrats, by all the socialists, because they want power. There's a lot of people who just say, Mike, it's not that petty. They wouldn't be that petty. They wouldn't just tear down America just because they want power and they want money. And I'm telling you, yes, they do. And yes, they did. And the consequences of all of their policies, past and present, we are still having to live with. And everyone goes, well, I don't remember that. I do. That's why I do this. For 20 years, I've been doing this. I do remember that we allowed, and I know everyone forgot, we let in 68,000 people. 48,000 of them were unvetted. We don't know who those people were. And it seems like one of those people, and I am absolutely sure it's one of the unvetted Afghans, did something horrific. And it could have been prevented. If the news media is correct, if we are watching, and I showed you the news report, if it's correct, that could have been prevented. That's above and beyond the fact that Alyssa Slotkin lied to you, used you, emotionally manipulated you to get money and to win an election. That Mark Kelly manipulated you, used you for money and to win an election. They did this with the help and full-throated support of the DNC and their fellow Democrats, saying, go for it, Orange Man bad, make a bunch of money, bring in money for the DNC, because Democrats are broke, because they have no ideas, they have no leadership, they have no focus, they have nothing of substance to offer the American people besides Orange Man bad. That's it. In 2024, Orange Man bad was the election mantra of every single Democrat in every single election in America. I don't care if you were running for janitor of your town or you were running for governor. Every single Democrat said, oh my God, I'm here to fight Orange Man bad. Donald Trump wasn't running for any of those races. I had an argument, I was Twitter, and I had to respond to Chuck Schumer, who said, oh my God, Donald Trump's having such a bad November. You know, he lost all his elections. He wasn't in an election. He's president. He wasn't running for anything. Democrats were running. Every Democrat was running against Trump. Trump wasn't running for anything. I just had to pause. I had to take a breath there because this is so aggravating to me and it's unnecessary. And the problem is the consequences come even when you don't want them to, even at times like Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's. They happen throughout the year, and it happens to children. It happens to adults. The consequences always come. And they try and tell you, well, no, it's not what you think it is. And we get the distractions from the mainstream news media. We get them to twist it around and try and suggest it's not what you think it is. It's here's all the evidence, and that doesn't mean that it's what the evidence points to can't be the answer. No. And 2 years later, they turn around and go, by the way, what you said, yeah, it's exactly that. What the evidence showed you, yeah, it's exactly that. We just couldn't admit it at that moment. Why? Because some Democrats might lose elections. So we had to push this off for 2 years, let those Democrats run so that they could get elected, so they could raise up a bunch of money. And now, 2 years after the fact, when no one's going to even remember what happened, then they'll tell us the truth. And we've seen it happen over and over and over again. You know that. How many news stories? You may not remember each story, but how many times have you heard the news go, oh yeah, and that's true. And that's true. The most recent one that I'm sure almost everyone remembers, yeah, you have to wear 3 masks. You need 3 masks. Not 1, not 2. 3 masks would be good for you. By the way, all the science, not true. UCLA, WHO, CDC, we have the evidence. No, not true. Oh, you're going to get the jab and you will never get sick again. No, that's a lie. The CEO of several of the CEOs of the pharmaceutical companies were interviewed by countries like Sweden and sat down in front of their parliament and said to the face of those governments, yeah, the pharmaceutical companies never guaranteed that you couldn't get sick, that you couldn't transmit. In fact, they told these countries, not in America, not in Europe, not in England, not where it could be transferred and we could see the news, but they did have these meetings and they were public and they did say, yeah, of course it's transmissible and of course you can still get sick. We didn't make it to not to do those things. That wasn't what we were supposed to do, and that isn't what we did. Oh, so you mean Joe Biden lied to the American people on national TV to your face? Yes. Did Democrats lie to your face? Did Fauci lie to you? Yes. In the congressional hearings, did they lie? Yes. And now I can say that on YouTube. I can now say that on Google, although my channel is suppressed. Now I can tell you these things in those words, even though I have to still be somewhat cautious of the words I'm using. And they lied to you. It's proven fact, but they waited 3, 4, 5 years before they want to tell you how badly they lied to you. But I'm the bad guy. I'm the bad guy for trying to point this out 4 years ago. I'm the bad guy because I'm a Republican, and that just makes me the bad guy. I'm talking about it, and I'm the bad guy. They lied to you. I'm the bad guy. They threatened, they tried to fearmonger you. I'm the bad guy for pointing it out. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm going to switch gears now. Switching gears completely. Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. I want everyone, I pray that everyone will be healthy, that you will be warm, that you will have food, and that you will be surrounded by friends. Let me remind everyone that there is a suicide hotline. If you have any negative feelings, if you feel bad at all, I get it. I've just been spouting off. And sometimes that's the healthiest thing you can do. Reach out to your friends and people that you know and say, hey, I just got to get this off my chest. I just have to let it out. I have to be angry for a minute. Do you mind? Can I just shout at you for a minute? It's not about you personally, but I just want to get this out. And more often than not, your friends will say, yeah, I get it. Go ahead. I understand. Let it out. They can be there for you. So can the suicide hotline. Rather than keep that bottled up and have this negative energy and get depressed and have someone take advantage of you because you're depressed and you're upset and you're angry and you can't get it out. I want everyone to be here next year. I want everyone to be here in the next 5 years. I want my audience. I always want you around. Yell if you have to. Yell at me if you want to. Trust me, people yell at me all the time. So I'm used to it. Whatever it takes. Call the suicide hotline. It's 988. You can text it. You can chat. You can call it up and say 988 and they will talk to you and they will help you. And I want you to be here year after year because you are valuable to me. You are important to me as my audience. Telling me when you think I'm right and telling me when you think I'm wrong. I want you to go through Thanksgiving after Thanksgiving. And if this Thanksgiving isn't perfect, maybe the next one will be. Or maybe it's the one after that. Let's keep going until we get to that perfect Thanksgiving if we can. Let's keep trying. And I'm going to keep trying to help. And I have been every year. I'm always trying to do something for Thanksgiving or for Christmas to help the homeless because that's important. I've been homeless. I've told you about that many times on this channel. And I'm always trying to help the homeless. I always want to help veterans. And I love helping families because I've been there. Hell, I'm there now. I'm poor. I'm dirt poor. I'm not embarrassed. I'm not asking for empathy or sympathy. I'm just telling you the truth. I don't get to be a multimillionaire doing this. That ain't happening. Or at least it hasn't happened yet. I hope it does. But I do this because I believe it's important. I believe you are important. And I love to hear when you guys tell me, Micah, you got some of it wrong, or here's what I think, and here's where I agree, and here's where I disagree. And that's how we make things better. That's how we have a community. That's how we have a society. That's how America had an identity. And the left is trying to destroy that. They're trying to destroy all of that. They don't want you to have a good Thanksgiving. They want you to have a Thanksgiving that's dependent on them. I don't. I don't care if you get government aid or you're working your job. I want you to have a great Thanksgiving and never think about the government. Never be, and the government is not even necessary, not important to that. That's what I want. The more we can make that possible, the better the world is, I think. Let me also add this in. As you can see, scrolling down right over here, we're still doing our raising money for the Jericho Project. And we're doing well. We're getting some money in. And I'm putting what money I can into it as well. Remember, it's out of every single dollar we raise on any platform of the No Sound Bites. That means all of our channels, all the SuperChats, all the RumbleRants. It means the PayPal. It means Patreon. It means Zazzle with the Zazzle store where you can get, mugs and T-shirts and all that. Wherever we get the money in from, 50% of the proceeds are going to be given to the Jericho Project in January. That's for the entire month of November. That's from the entire month of December. And you can tell your friends, you know what? You may not like Mike. Mike is a MAGA Republican. He's a hardcore Republican. He's a hard ass. Okay. But you know what? Give Mike $5 so he can give $250 to the Jericho Project. Help Mike give money to the Jericho Project, please. And maybe stick around and listen to him for an hour. If you hate him, you hate him. You know what? It's $250. That's all you're spending $5. It'll be more entertaining. It'll get your blood pumping more than going out and watching. How many of these failed movies Disney has put out so far? This has been the worst Hollywood year for Hollywood, I think, in history. 2025 is the year of the flopbuster, the slopbuster, they keep calling it. And it costs you what? $30 per person to go see a movie these days. All you can do, all it costs here, nothing. I ask you to like and subscribe. I ask you to help me donate to the Jericho Project. That's it. You don't have to do any of it, but I hope you do. Because it's not just, I want everyone to have a great Thanksgiving. I want everyone to have a great Christmas or Hanukkah. I want everyone to have a great New Year. And I'm going to try and do what I can to help you do that. And at the same time, I'm going to be here every week, breaking down the news, sharing it with you. Usually a little bit more organized and a little less emotional. But I have my bad days too, and this is one of them. But I appreciate you guys. I really, really do. I really appreciate each and every one of you. All right. It's the middle of the week. It's the night before Thanksgiving. I know people are cooking up great storms, either for their families, their friends, their loved ones, or maybe it's for a charity. And I appreciate it. Guys, always remember, go check on the turkey. Turn it over, baste it a little bit more. Can never be enough basting on the turkey as it's cooking. Make a really nice ham. I have a couple of friends that are making brisket. I wish I had thought of that. I would love a brisket. Oh, brisket's great. I haven't had brisket for Thanksgiving before. I have a friend who told me that's what they're going to do. And now I'm like, I should do that. Too late, but I like that idea. Brisket. I'm a carnivore. What can I say? And I look forward to seeing you guys Sunday. Sunday, I will be live on my regular show, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That'll be episode 48 for this year. So we're going to be there. And hopefully we'll have some better news to talk about. I look forward to that. Guys, Have a great holiday. To my international audience, sorry you guys don't get Thanksgiving, but I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you have just as much love and joy and peace and warmth as everyone in America. I truly do, no matter where you are. Thank you, everyone. I want you to be well. I'll talk to you soon.